The sun of Heirloom rose gently over the golden hills, touching the land with soft morning light. Markets were setting up for the day, traders were arranging their goods, and the sound of wooden carts moved through the dusty streets. But in the center of the marketplace, something unusual stood out. It was not a cart, not an animal, and not a merchant. It was a dragon. Her name was Lysera. Her scales were silver like moonlight, glowing faintly even in the day. She was smaller than the great fire dragons the stories talked about, but still large enough to make people step back when she turned her head. Chains rested loosely around her front legs, not tight, not cruel, but enough to show she was no longer free. Lysera kept her eyes low. She did not roar, did not fight, did not show anger. Instead, she looked tired. Her wings were folded close to her body, and her tail curled around her feet as if she wished to hide from the world. Anyone who looked closely could see the truth. She was not dangerous. She was heartbroken. For dragons, strength came from both body and magic. But their society also valued something else, the ability to continue the bloodline. Fertility was seen as a sign of magical promise, a future to be passed on. When Lysera was found to be infertile, her clan judged her as having lost her purpose. Those words echoed in her mind again and again. She had not lost magic, but she had lost her place. And now, she was here on a wooden platform in the market, waiting for someone to decide where her future would go. Most people did not dare come close. They looked at her with wide eyes, whispering to each other, "An infertile dragon? What good is she? She cannot raise hatchlings. She must be weak." Lysera heard every word. She had heard the same sentences many times already. Each one felt like a small stone being placed on her heart, heavier and heavier. She lowered her head even more, trying not to let sadness show, but it was difficult. She missed the open sky. She missed the wind under her wings. She missed the feeling of belonging. She missed being wanted. A short distance away, a man walked slowly through the marketplace, holding two little hands. One belonged to his daughter Mira, and the other to his son Jace. The twins were around 8 years old and full of energy, pointing excitedly at everything they saw. "Papa, look, a baker is selling sweet bread. Papa, there's a man carving wooden animals." Evan Harrow, the father of the twins, smiled patiently. He was a quiet man with warm brown eyes, suntanned skin, and hands that showed the hard work of farming. His clothes were simple, patched in a few places, but clean. He had come to town to buy seeds and tools for his farm, not expecting anything unusual. That changed when Jace suddenly tugged on his father's sleeve with force. "Papa, look over there. Is that a dragon?" Evan lifted his eyes and his steps stopped. There she was, a large, silver shape on a wooden platform. Her wings glimmered under the morning sunlight, and her tail swayed slightly in the dust. But what caught Evan's attention was not the sight of a dragon. It was the expression on her face. She looked lost. She looked alone. He could see no anger in her eyes, only quiet sadness, a kind of tired resignation that made his heart tighten. Mira whispered softly, "She looks like she wants to cry." Evan exhaled slowly. "Maybe she does." The twins, without fear, walked closer. Their father followed behind in case the dragon was dangerous, though something inside him told him she wasn't. A merchant standing near the platform saw them approach and called out with enthusiasm, interested in the dragon, sir? Very rare price today." Evan frowned. "Price? You are selling her?" Yes, the merchant replied eagerly. "She is gentle, trained, and causes no trouble. But she cannot lay eggs, so her clan sent her away. We are simply trying to find a buyer who will take responsibility for her." Mira gasped. "They sent her away just because she cannot have babies?" Jace looked angry in his small way. "That's not fair." The merchant shrugged. "Fair or not, that is how dragon clans work. If you cannot carry on the legacy, you are not needed." Evan felt a strange mix of emotions. He was not a hero, not a knight, and not a king. He was just a farmer living on the edge of the forest with 2 young children. But something about the dragon situation touched him deeply. Maybe it was because he had lost his wife years ago and knew what emptiness felt like. Maybe it was because he had seen animals abandoned for being unuseful. Or maybe it was simply because the dragon looked like a soul who needed kindness more than anything else. He stepped closer and spoke gently. "What is her name?" The merchant checked a small wooden tag tied loosely to one of the chains. "Lysera." Evan looked up at the dragon. "Lysera," he said softly. "Can you understand me?" Slowly, the dragon lifted her head. Her eyes, soft and silver, met his. She did not speak out loud. Few dragons did unless they wished to. But her eyes told him everything he needed to know. Yes, she understood. Mira moved close to her father. "Papa, can we help her?" Jace nodded quickly. "Please?" She looked so sad. Evan swallowed, torn between responsibility and compassion. Taking in a dragon was not a simple thing. She would need space. She would eat a lot. She might attract attention. His farm was peaceful, and he liked it that way. Bringing a dragon home would change everything. But then Lysera lowered her head again, as if she expected nothing, as if she believed nobody would ever choose her, and Evan felt his decision settle into place. He turned to the merchant. "How much?" The man's face brightened. "A good choice, sir." The price he gave was surprisingly low, likely because Lysera's infertility made her unappealing to wealthy buyers. Evan handed over the coins he had originally saved for new farm tools. It was nearly all he had brought, but he did not hesitate. The merchant removed the chains, and Lysera stepped off the platform slowly. She did not run. She did not roar. Instead, she bowed her head slightly toward Evan and the twins. A gesture of respect and quiet gratitude. Evan smiled gently. "Come with us. You're safe now." Mira reached out and touched Lysera's leg carefully. The dragon did not pull away. Instead, she lowered her head to the child's level, letting Mira stroke her smooth scales. "She's warm," Mira whispered happily. Jace placed his tiny hand on Lysera's shoulder. "Can she live with us, Papa?" Evan nodded. "Yes, if she wishes to." Lysera lifted her wings slightly, then folded them again. She took a long breath of the fresh morning air. For the first time in a long while, she felt something inside her chest soften. It was not joy exactly, but something close, like the first spark of hope after a long night. She followed Evan and the twins out of the marketplace. People stared, whispering in surprise as a human farmer led a dragon through the village streets. But Evan ignored the stares. So did the children, and Lysera tried to keep her head held higher than before. The journey to the farm took time, but it was peaceful. Birds flew overhead, and the gentle breeze rustled the leaves around them. Evan spoke casually to the twins about the chores they would do later, and sometimes Mira or Jace would walk beside Lysera, talking to her as if she were an old friend. Lysera listened to every word. When they reached the farm, Evan opened the gate and gestured warmly. "This is your new home." It was not a grand place, just a wooden house, a few barns, and wide fields stretching toward the forest. But it felt warm. It felt alive. And most importantly, it felt safe. Lysera stepped inside the farmyard slowly, her heart filling with a strange new feeling. Belonging. She did not know what her future would look like. She did not know if she could truly fit into a human family. But at that moment, one thing was certain. She was no longer unwanted. She had been chosen. She had been saved. And maybe, just maybe, this new beginning would show her that she had more value than her clan had ever seen. The first morning at the Harrow farm felt strange to Lysera, but also peaceful. Soft light spread across the fields, turning the wheat into a sea of gold. Birds fluttered from tree to tree, and a gentle wind moved through the leaves like a calm whisper. It was not the kind of place she ever imagined living in, yet it felt welcoming in a quiet, warm way. Evan stepped out of the house carrying a wooden bucket of fresh water. Mira and Jace followed close behind him, their hair messy from sleep and their smiles bright. "Good morning, Lysera," Mira called cheerfully. The dragon lifted her head, giving a slow nod. She had spent the night in the open field, lying near the barn where the ground was soft. It was the first time she had slept without worry in a long while. Evan placed the bucket near her feet. "Here," he said gently. Clean water. Let me know if you need more. Lysera lowered her head to drink. The cool water felt refreshing, almost sweet. Evan watched with a small smile, as if happy simply because she was comfortable. We're going to show you the farm today, Jace announced proudly. Papa said you should know everything so you won't feel confused. Lysera blinked in surprise. No one had ever spoken to her that way before. In her clan, she had been expected to follow rules without question. Here, a child was telling her she had the right to understand her surroundings. She gave a low, grateful rumble from her chest. The farm was larger than she expected. Evan led the way, pointing out different areas. Mira and Jace walked on either side of Lysera, excitedly explaining everything they could think of. This is the main field, Mira said, waving her arms around. We grow vegetables here, carrots, beans, potatoes, and over there, Jace added, pointing toward another field. That's wheat. It's very important because it becomes bread. Lysera listened carefully. Everything was new to her. She had never seen humans work with the land this closely. In the dragon clans, food was gathered or hunted, not grown. The idea of planting something small and then waiting patiently for it to grow into something useful fascinated her. She walked slowly, making sure her large feet did not crush the crops. Mira noticed and giggled. You're very careful, she said softly. Thank you. Lysera lowered her head in acknowledgement. They visited the barn next. Inside were gentle goats, a few chickens, and one old cow who looked at Lysera with sleepy eyes. At first, the animals seemed nervous, but when Lysera sat down quietly and remained still, they relaxed. Her calming presence filled the air like soft magic. Evan leaned against the doorway. You have a peaceful aura, he said with admiration. The animals seem to like you already. Lysera glanced at him. She had always known she possessed healing magic, but she never understood its full effect. Her old clan had valued fire-breathing dragons or strong warriors more than gentle magic. But here, her peaceful nature seemed appreciated. The thought warmed her heart. As the sun rose higher, Evan began his daily chores. Lysera watched, curious. Farming looked simple at first glance, but she soon realized it took great effort. Evan carried heavy sacks of grain, repaired tools, pulled weeds from the fields, and checked every plant with careful eyes. Mira and Jace helped where they could, pulling small weeds, feeding the animals, and carrying baskets. Their teamwork was natural, like they had been doing it for years. Lysera wanted to help too. She stepped forward and gently lowered her wings. With one careful sweep, she blew a soft gust of wind across the field. Fallen leaves scattered away, clearing the pathways. Evan paused. That actually helps a lot, he said with a grateful grin. Thank you. Lysera felt a small spark of pride. It was the first time in a long while that anyone thanked her for something she willingly chose to do, encouraged. She continued helping throughout the morning. When Evan struggled to move a large wooden beam near the barn, Lysera used her tail to lift it slightly, making it easier. When the goats wandered away, she guided them back kindly with a gentle nudge of her nose. When the chickens scattered too far, she spread her wings just enough to cast a wide shadow, guiding them back toward their coop. Mira clapped her hands. Lysera is the best helper ever. Jace nodded with excitement. She's like a giant friend. Evan smiled warmly. Yes, a very good friend. Lysera's heart fluttered. No one had ever called her that before. By midday, the family gathered under a large shade tree near the farmhouse for lunch. Evan handed out bread, cheese, and fruit. He placed a larger bowl of water and a pile of fresh vegetables near Lysera. We're still learning what you like to eat, he said. Tell us if something is wrong. Lysera sniffed the vegetables. They smelled nice, fresh, and clean. She began eating slowly. The family watched her with gentle curiosity, but not judgment. Jace suddenly said, Papa, can Lysera stay forever? Evan looked at the dragon. Only if she wants to. Lysera paused mid-bite. The simple words hit her deeply. If she wants to. Her old clan had never asked her what she wanted. They only told her what she could not do. Here, she had a choice. She lowered her head respectfully and gave a warm, rumbling sound that clearly meant yes. Mira squealed happily. She wants to stay. She really wants to stay. Evan smiled in silent joy. For Lysera, it was a moment she would never forget. A moment where she chose a home and the home chose her back. The afternoon continued calmly until the sky suddenly darkened with approaching clouds. A storm was coming. Evan looked up. We should prepare. Storms can be strong this time of year. He rushed to pull covers over the stored crops, secure the animals inside the barn, and bring in the tools. Mira and Jace helped as quickly as their small hands allowed. Lysera watched as the wind grew stronger and raindrops began to fall. The storm looked fierce. Lightning flashed far away, but she could sense the heavy magic in the air. Without thinking, she stepped forward and expanded her wings. A soft silver glow began to spread across her body. Evan paused, surprised. Lysera, what are you doing? The dragon lifted her wings high and curved them outward, forming a protective arc over the family as the rain poured heavily. The water slid off her smooth scales like it was nothing. Under her wings, the ground stayed dry. Mira hugged Lysera's leg. Thank you. We're not getting wet. Jace laughed happily. She's better than an umbrella. Evan placed a hand on Lysera's shoulder. You don't have to do this. Lysera gently shook her head. She wanted to. The farm had given her safety and kindness. She wished to protect it in return. The storm lasted a long time, but Lysera kept her wings up without complaint. Her glowing magic even warmed the air a little, making the space under her wings feel comfortable. When the storm finally ended, the sun peeked through the clouds, and the fields glimmered with droplets of silver light. Evan looked around and sighed in relief. Nothing was damaged. The storm didn't ruin the fields. Lysera lowered her wings, tired but content. Mira and Jace hugged her tightly. You saved the farm. Mira said proudly, you saved our home. Jace added. Lysera felt a rush of emotion. She had never been called a protector before. Her magic, once dismissed as unimportant, had just shielded an entire family and their land. For the first time in her life, she felt truly useful in a way that came from kindness, not expectation. As evening approached, Evan lit the lanterns around the yard while the twins prepared for bed. Lysera lay in her usual spot near the barn, watching the stars appear one by one. Evan walked over with a gentle smile. Thank you for today. You helped more than you know. Lysera blinked slowly, touched by his sincerity. You're welcome to stay here as long as you want, he added. Not because you owe us anything, but because we want you here. Lysera lowered her head and closed her eyes in gratitude. She felt warmth not from magic, but from the feeling of being accepted. The day had started with uncertainty, but it ended with something she never expected to find again: hope. She looked out across the peaceful farm, the soft glow of lanterns, and the laughter of the twins coming from the house. Yes, she belonged here. And this new life, this quiet, gentle life, was the beginning of something she had never dared to dream of. For many peaceful days, Lysera lived on the Harrow farm as if she had always belonged there. She helped with chores, guarded the fields during storms, and even warmed the chilly evenings with her gentle silver glow. Mira and Jace loved her deeply, and Evan trusted her more each day. Lysera felt her heart healing bit by bit, but peace does not always last forever. One calm morning, Evan and the twins were harvesting early vegetables near the edge of the field. Lysera lay in the shade nearby, resting after lifting a large batch of hay for the barn. The soft breeze smelled like earth and fresh plants. Mira suddenly looked up at the sky. Lysera, look, you're glowing again. Lysera blinked. Small sparks of silver light drifted from her scales like tiny stars. It happened sometimes, usually when she felt happy or relaxed. Jace laughed and tried to catch the glowing specks with his hands. It's like magic fireflies. Evan smiled. It means she feels at peace. Lysera lowered her head shyly, warmed by their kindness. But the peaceful moment was interrupted by a distant rumbling, soft at first, then louder. Not thunder, not carts, not wind. Something else. Lysera's ears twitched. Her scales dimmed. She slowly stood up and focused her senses. A quiet pressure filled the air, a familiar pattern of energy she once knew well. Someone was coming. And not just anyone, beings with magic similar to her old clan. Her chest tightened. Evan noticed the change immediately. Lysera, what's wrong? She slowly shook her head, unsure how to explain without words. Her eyes locked on the dirt road leading toward the farm. The rumbling grew clearer footsteps, several of them, steady and purposeful. Mira looked nervous. Are they friends? Lysera wished she could say yes. She gently pushed the twins behind Evan with her wing. Not roughly, not fearfully, just protectively, Evan placed a hand on both children. Stay close. Soon, 3 figures appeared on the road. They were not dragons, but humans dressed in traveling cloaks. They carried small packs and walked with calm steps, not in a threatening way. But something about their posture made the air feel uneasy. Lysera recognized the scent of the herbs on their clothes, herb masters. From Heirloom's trading district, people who often worked with dragons. Some were kind, some were not. The 3 visitors stopped at the fence. The man in front smiled politely. Good morning, he said. We heard a dragon settled here recently. We came to confirm a few things. Evan approached slowly, keeping a steady but polite tone. Good morning. Yes, she lives here. Is there a problem? The woman on the left nodded toward Lysera. Is that her? A silver dragon? Named Lysera? Lysera lowered her head slightly, but did not hide. The 3rd visitor, a young man, opened a small scroll. We received reports that her previous clan is concerned. They believe she may have left without completing certain duties. Lysera tensed. Not from anger, only from old memories. Her clan had never given her duties. They gave her expectations she could not meet. Evan frowned. She didn't leave. She was sent away. The woman cleared her throat softly. Yes, but you must understand. Some members of her clan are asking if she carried confidential knowledge. Territory routes. Magical patterns. Things that should not be shared. Lysera felt a sting in her heart. She had never taken anything. She had left with nothing but sadness. Evan stood firm. She isn't a danger. She's been nothing but gentle. The visitors looked unsure. We don't mean harm. We only need to verify she is not causing any trouble. Lysera stepped forward a little. Her wings relaxed at her sides, not raised aggressively, only open enough to show honesty. She bowed her head politely. She wished she could speak in their language, but even without words, she conveyed her message clearly. She meant no trouble. The man with the scroll sighed. She does seem harmless, but still, we were told to check. Evan crossed his arms, calm but confident. She is safe here. She chooses to stay with us. The woman exchanged a thoughtful look with her companions. We understand. We only ask that you inform us if anyone else comes looking for her. There may be parties who misunderstand the situation. Parties? Evan repeated. Yes, the man replied. People who think dragons are valuables rather than beings. They may try to take her again, not for her magic, but to resell her. We want to avoid that. Lysera felt a cold shiver of fear. She remembered the market. She remembered the stairs. She did not want to be taken away again. She did not want to lose her new home. Evan noticed and gently placed a hand on her leg. She's safe here. I won't let anyone take her. The visitors nodded politely and left, their boots leaving quiet marks in the dirt. When they were far enough away, Evan turned to Lysera. Are you okay? Lysera touched her head gently to his shoulder, a gesture of trust. The twins hugged her legs tightly. We won't let anyone take you, Jay said bravely. Your family. Mira added. Lysera felt warmth take over her fear. Yes, this family would stand by her. But deep inside, she sensed something else. This was only the beginning. Someone, somewhere, believed she knew secrets she did not, and they might come personally to investigate. Over the next few days, Lysera became more alert. She listened to the farce closely, sensed the wind carefully, and watched the sky more often. But she did not want to worry the twins, so she remained gentle and calm around them. Evan noticed her anxiety. One evening, while the children were washing up, he walked to her resting spot. You're afraid they'll come back, he said softly. Lysera lowered her head. Evan crouched beside her. Listen, whatever happened in your past, you're not alone now. We'll face things together. Her silver eyes glowed with gratitude, and he continued with a small grin. You forget something. Lysera tilted her head. Humans can be surprising. She gave a soft rumble of amusement. It was true. Humans were not as predictable as dragons often believed. A week later, the quiet threat became more visible. It began when Mira noticed footprints near the forest line, large ones, not from humans or animals. When Evan examined them, he frowned. They're too big for a normal traveler, he murmured. But they don't look like dragon tracks either. Lysera stepped close to the footprints, sniffed the ground gently, and her body stiffened. The scent was familiar to familiar. Members of her clan used certain herbs on their scales for travel. This was the same scent she once wore. Someone she knew had walked near the farm. But they had not come inside the boundary. They were watching. That night, she stayed awake, eyes glowing faintly in the darkness, watching for movement. Evan sat beside her for a long time. You don't have to protect us alone, he said quietly. Let us help you. Lysera looked at him, heartful. She knew he meant every word. The next morning, something unexpected happened. As Evan and the children prepared breakfast, Lysera sensed a shift in the air, a soft vibration of magic. She turned sharply toward the forest. A figure stepped out from behind the trees. Not a human, not a creature. A dragon, small, younger, emerald green, with wings tucked in politely. Not hostile, not threatening. The young dragon bowed deeply, a gesture of respect. Lysera froze in surprise. The green dragon spoke with calm, gentle telepathic magic that all dragons understood. I did not come to take you, he said kindly. I came to warn you. Lysera blinked in shock. The young dragon continued. A few members of our clan are searching for you, not to punish you, but because they fear you might know things you were never told. Lysera lowered her head. She had never taken anything. Why would they think that? The dragon read her expression. They are mistaken. I know that. But they are stubborn. They believe every dragon carries some kind of inherited knowledge. Lysera breathed out softly, sad but calm. She had nothing to hide. I wanted to warn you, the young dragon said, so you can choose your path. He looked toward Evan and the twins standing near the doorway. You have found a place where you are valued, he said gently. Do not let fear steal it. He bowed again. I wish you peace. Then he returned to the forest and disappeared gracefully into the trees. Lysera stood silently for a long moment. She wasn't in danger. She wasn't being hunted. But she was being watched by those who didn't understand her choice. And choices always brought challenges. Evan approached and placed a hand on her side. We'll be ready, he said softly. Whatever comes, you won't face it alone. Mira hugged her leg. Jace held her tail gently. Lysera lifted her wings slightly, letting them rest around the family like a protective barrier, not out of fear, but love. Yes, whatever came next, she would face it with them. Her past might be complicated, but her future was clearer than ever. She belonged here, and she would protect this home, not with force, but with courage, wisdom, and the gentle magic that made her who she truly was. The days following the green dragon's warning passed quietly, almost too quietly. Lysera stayed watchful, Evan stayed thoughtful, and the twins stayed close to her whenever they could. Life on the farm continued as usual, plowing, planting, feeding animals, collecting eggs, but a faint tension floated in the air, like a string pulled a little too tight. Still, Lysera did not let fear guide her. She reminded herself that she was not alone anymore. Evan had promised to stand with her. Mira and Jace had wrapped her heart with their innocent trust. This farm was her home now, and she would face anything to protect it. But protection did not always mean fighting. Sometimes it meant choosing courage over fear. Sometimes it meant staying when the past tried to pull her away. One quiet morning, Lysera woke before the sun rose. The air felt cool and fresh, carrying the smell of dew and soft grass. She stretched her wings slowly, letting them catch the early morning light. Sparkles of silver magic drifted around her like dust from the stars. Evan stepped outside the house, rubbing his sleepy eyes. You're up early. Lysera lowered her head in greeting. He walked toward her with a peaceful smile. You planning to watch the sunrise? She blinked in surprise. Yes, that was exactly what she was thinking. Evan sat on the small wooden bench near her side and patted the spot beside him. You can sit too if you like. Lysera settled down beside him, curling her tail gently around her feet. Together, they faced the horizon. It started as a pale pink glow, then orange, then gold. The sky opened like a blooming flower, spreading warmth across the fields. Lysera watched the sun rise with quiet awe. She used to see the sunrise from mountain cliffs, surrounded by dragons who never understood her heart. But this sunrise, this simple, gentle one, felt more beautiful than any she had seen before. Evan glanced at her. You know, I think the land grows better because you're here. Lysera tilted her head. I mean it, he said softly. The animals trust you. The plants look brighter. Even the air feels calmer. Lysera felt something warm rise in her chest. Evan continued. Your magic isn't about power or strength. It's about peace, healing, connection. You make this place better. She looked at him with grateful eyes. You don't need to worry about your past, he said gently. This farm is your home now, and homes aren't judged by what you can give. They're built on care. Lysera touched her nose to his hand, a soft gesture of thanks. At that moment, Mira and Jace burst out of the house, running barefoot across the grass. Lysera, Lysera, they shouted, laughing. The dragon lowered her wings so the twins could climb onto her back. They sat between her shoulder blades, holding onto her scales like they were riding the world's softest, warmest hill. Evan chuckled. Looks like you've been kidnapped. Lysera gave a playful rumble. Jace whispered, we want to show you something. Lysera raised her head. The twins pointed toward the forest, near the big tree. Mira said excitedly, we made something for you. Curious, Lysera walked slowly toward the trees with the twins still riding proudly on her back. At the edge of the forest stood the largest oak tree on the entire property. Its branches spread wide like welcoming arms. Mira and Jace slid down Lysera's side and ran ahead, disappearing behind the thick trunk. Come on, Mira called. Lysera stepped forward and peeked around the tree. Her heart softened instantly. Beneath the oak, the twins had created a small shelter made of leaves, sticks, and colorful wildflowers. It wasn't large, not compared to a dragon, but it was beautiful. They had arranged stones in a neat circle and placed feathers and shiny pebbles along the edge. We made this for you, Jace said proudly. It's your spot. Mira nodded eagerly. Whenever you're feeling sad or tired, you can come here and rest. We'll bring flowers and make it pretty for you. Lysera lowered her head, gently touching the soft wreath of flowers placed on the ground. Her eyes shimmered with emotion. No one had ever made something for her before, not in her entire life. Evan arrived behind them, smiling. They worked on it all week. Lysera curled her wings around the shelter, feeling the pure kindness of the gesture. Something inside her felt full, and for the first time in many years, she felt complete. This was her family, her chosen family. But peace was not the only thing arriving that day. As the sun climbed higher, Lysera sensed it again, that familiar magical pressure in the air. She turned sharply toward the forest. Evan noticed immediately. What is it? Lysera stepped forward, wings slightly open. The twins rushed to her side. Out of the forest came a figure, tall, calm, and familiar. It was the green dragon from before. He bowed his head respectfully. I did not want to startle you. Lysera relaxed slightly. Evan approached carefully. Is everything all right? The green dragon nodded. Yes, I come with good news. Lysera tilted her head, confused. He continued. Your old clan realized something important. You left not because you wished to betray them, but because they treated you unfairly. They assumed you had taken knowledge you never had. He lowered his gaze respectfully. I spoke to them. I explained your heart better than they ever understood it before. Lysera blinked, surprised. They now know you did nothing wrong, the green dragon said. They will not send anyone after you anymore. They realize you deserve peace. Lysera felt a wave of relief wash over her. Mira whispered. Does that mean she can stay? Evan placed a gentle hand on Mira's shoulder. She stays if she wants to. The green dragon looked at Lysera. You have a choice now. You may return to the clan. or continue the life you've built here. Lysera did not hesitate. She walked toward Evan, Mira, and Jace, her family, and wrapped her wings around them like a warm shield. Her answer was clear. The green dragon smiled. I understand. I thought you might choose this path. He gave a respectful bow. May your days be full of peace. You have found a good home. With a gentle flap of his wings, he lifted into the air and disappeared into the sky, leaving a trail of soft green light behind him. Lysera turned back to her family. Mira hugged her leg. You chose us? Jace threw his arms around her neck. We love you, Lysera. Evan smiled softly. You're part of this family. Always. Lysera lowered her head as the twins embraced her. She felt the deepest warmth spread through her chest. It was not the warmth of fire. It was the warmth of belonging. The rest of the day passed like a dream. Lysera helped Evan plant new seedlings in the field. Her gentle magic made the soil soft and rich, and the plants responded with green, eager sprouts. Look at that, Evan said with a laugh. You're better than any tool I could buy. Lysera gave a playful rumble and nudged him lightly with her nose. Later, she played with the twins near the oak tree. They ran in circles around her, laughing as she created tiny silver sparks that floated around them like harmless glittering stars. This is the best day ever. Mira shouted. Lysera is the best dragon ever. Jace added proudly. Lysera curled around them happily. At sunset, the entire family sat together on the hill behind the house. The sky turned orange and purple. Fireflies sparkled near the grass. The air smelled like blooming flowers. Evan spoke softly. You know, I used to think this farm was small and quiet, but now it feels full, alive. Lysera rested her head on the ground near him, understanding deeply what he meant. This farm was no longer just a place. It was a home shaped by kindness, a home healed by love, a home strengthened by a dragon who found her purpose not in what she lacked, but in what she gave. And she gave so much: peace, warmth, courage, family. The stars rose slowly above them, and Lysera lifted her wings, letting the silver magic drift into the night like floating lights. Evan smiled. Tomorrow will be a good day. Lysera agreed. Tomorrow would be a very good day, because the future she chose, this future filled with love, peace, and family, was finally her own.